Are you looking for peace of mind at your doorstep? Look no further. With the Blink Video Doorbell, your home's entrance is always within your control. Check out the link in the video description to learn more and get your Blink Video Doorbell on Amazon. Your home is in your hands.
Judge Mary Marlowe Sommer was businesslike to the very end. By 5 p.m. on Friday, she was also weary and rather cross. Enough was enough. Without fanfare or pomp, with a whisper not a bang, she briskly announced that the involuntary manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin was dismissed because the prosecution had suppressed evidence, leaving no prospect of a fair trial. She added the phrase, with prejudice, meaning that the actor cannot ever be tried again on these charges. "There is no way for the court to right this wrong," she said in a flat, emotionless voice, as the news rippled around the courtroom like a shockwave. There were gasps from both the public and press benches as the trial, which had been scheduled to last for at least 10 days, was suddenly over after barely 3. At the defense table, the 66-year-old actor took off his spectacles, laid one hand across his eyes and began to cry, a mini-quake of shoulder-shaking sobs. Lead lawyer Luke Nickus put a comforting hand on his arm, then the two men hugged. Celebrity lawyer and second-in-command Alex Spiro was next for another beefy man-hug, looking jubilant after securing this sensational victory for his client. Just behind them, Baldwin's wife Ilaria had been taking nervous gulps of air during the judge's ruling before weeping into a handkerchief at its conclusion. She stepped forward to embrace her husband and the couple clung to each other, for a few moments oblivious to the clamor around them. At one point, Baldwin had to put his hands on the courtroom bar rail to steady himself. The case, which had been hanging over his head for almost 3 years, was suddenly, dramatically over. If found guilty, he had been facing up to 18 months in prison. Instead, he walked out of the court a free man. It was a plot twist that no one saw coming, a real-life crime drama that most amateur sleuths would dismiss as too far-fetched. For in the end, Baldwin's trial did not hinge on the crucial questions at the heart of the case. Did he pull the trigger on the gun? Should he have checked to see if his gun was correctly loaded with blanks? Was he guilty of criminal negligence? Now we will never know what the jury would have made of these hotly contested issues. Ultimately, the trial was dismissed simply because the state prosecutor made a fatal blunder. How exactly we will never know. Earlier that morning, before the court was in session, Chief Prosecutor Carrie Morrissey seemed to know it was going to be a long day. Few people were around as she laid out paperwork on her courtroom desk and conferred with a junior member of her team sitting just in front of the press benches. "There's a glass of scotch in our future," she said to him, which seemed to suggest a belief that triumph was within her grasp. Within hours, however, she would be on the rocks herself. Looking back, it seems evident that something wild was in the wind as proceedings began on Friday. There has never been much love lost between the prosecution and defense teams in this case, but matters were reaching a whole new pitch of bitter hostilities. The atmosphere was increasingly tense, tempers were short and exchanges became heated. No wonder. Just before 8 p.m. the previous evening, the defense team had filed yet another motion to dismiss the case. This was the 6th time they had done so since Baldwin was indicted in January, for the 2nd time, and Judge Sommer had rejected all the others. However, this one was different. Suddenly we were on a war footing. In the absence of the jury, the defense put forward its accusation that the prosecution had withheld evidence about a batch of ammunition. It had been turned over to the authorities several months ago by a witness who claimed that it was related to the shooting. Morrissey, for the prosecution, said the evidence was not relevant and had not been hidden, she just didn't think it was important. "You don't get to decide that," countered the defense, citing one of the key principles of American law, as it is in British law, that the prosecution have a duty to turn over all evidence, no matter if it is detrimental to their case or might assist the defense. The judge ordered the contested evidence to be presented and, in a bizarre turn of events, put on a pair of blue rubber gloves and examined them herself, picking through the bullets like someone rummaging through a punnet of strawberries looking.